Good evening, I am Ibrahim Sani and you're watching Market Talk.
Scania is already gearing up for a future in Malaysia that is smart, safe and fuel efficient. They have invested in building digitally connected and unmanned vehicles that would shape the future. Scania's goal is to play a leading role in providing sustainable transport solutions by improving energy efficiency, applying alternative fuel technology and creating smarter and safer transport for Malaysians and everyone around the world. Malaysia has a commitment to meet the greenhouse gas emissions reduction target of 45% by 2030. As of 2013, Malaysia was already at 43% and continues to improve. The question remains on whether or not Scania can continue to provide sustainable transport solutions to customers of tomorrow.
Joining me today is Marie Schoden-Enstrom, the Managing Director of Scania Southeast Asia, here to discuss more on the business of Scania in Malaysia and beyond. Welcome to the show, Marie. The initial launch of the Marco Polo coach was a big news for your company as well as for the trucking industry in Malaysia.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more on this?
On the launch, I mean, it's a very niche market that we're targeting with our complete coach. So it has had some success. Now we're looking at some repeat customers and repeat orders coming back, and our customers are really finding that the bus or the coach is actually delivering on what we have promised. So we're very happy with that.
This is quite interesting because Scania Global, with 2016 figures, buses and coaches form just 10% of the total net sales. Sure. The majority is still in the trucking industry, about 60%. Is this a clear move to grow this particular market in the bus segment?
Well, I mean, it depends on the market. We are there to service customers, and we have the bus product as well. So, of course, we want to grow in that segment as well. We are coming from a traditional company of being truck, and the bus has, of course, derived out of that. But we are very successful in many parts of the world. So we're growing and we're moving ahead with the bus business as well.
The vehicles that you provide or you're building right now is considered to be the next generation, where we look at fuel-efficient vehicles, we're looking at driverless vehicles. Is this the next step for Scania?
Well, it's one of many steps for us. We're talking about the vehicle as such. Yes, absolutely. We're moving into that type of environment where the world is moving faster than we can even think right now. But also what we're moving into is the digitalization with connecting the vehicles, creating smarter transport solutions for our customers. So I mean, we're focusing on the products themselves, but then also making sure that we can connect and use the data. And platooning, for example, is an example of where we're using wireless data.
Let's take a look into platooning.
Yes.
What do you mean by platooning?
Well, we talk about platooning as a convoy of vehicles moving together to create aerodynamics, to create fuel efficiency. And that's being tested right now. It's being tested. We're working in, as you may know, in Singapore as well for testing in a real-life environment between ports. So it's really creating that ultimate aerodynamics between the vehicles, so that you, at the end of the day, may only have one driver, or in the long future, maybe autonomous as well. So the one driver will drive 3 other vehicles, no drivers in those.
This revolution, do you think that it can be rolled out quite fast in some of the faster growing regions like Asia?
Well, I think, I mean, it all depends on, there's a lot about this. For the moment, we are, at Scania, we are testing it in environments where there are not people involved, so in isolated environments, like mines, for example. So, of course, there are challenges with moving ahead with these type of products, because there are people to be considered on. But it's also about how do we regulate around that, how do we work with it. And in Singapore's case, I mean, they are really moving to find a solution so this can be operative in an environment where there are normal cars and people moving around as well.
Let's talk about regulations. The regulation that we have right now is quite lax in terms of safeguarding the environmental notion. In Malaysia in particular, there aren't enough laws to compel companies to actually use a greener option. Do you think that the time is right for countries like Malaysia to have better laws in making our country a little bit greener?
Well, I think part of pushing the environmental aspect forward is some legal responsibility, some legalization of it. And we can see that from Europe. Of course, in Europe, Scania is already, everyone is having to work with the emission standards Euro 6. And it's been very natural. It's been coming as a demand from our customers. That's the natural demand from our customers. But it helps with legislation. It helps to push the matter forward.
Let's talk about the recent changes that is being happening in Europe. Scania is collaborating with a company called Harvey to actually improve on the supply chain of McDonald's there.
Yes.
And the impact is quite significant because of the amount of trucks that is needed to maintain the supply chain of McDonald's in Europe mainland. And do you think that collaborations like this largely was born out of better regulations?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, today, if you look at the world, the environmental consciousness is present everywhere. And you cannot be relevant in today's environment and in the future if you don't look at this aspect as well. So, of course, if you want to continue to be relevant, like, for example, for McDonald's, they need to think ahead on what they need to be a part of and what environment they are part of. So it's also driven by our customers' customers. So what are they aiming for? McDonald's is one. There are many more that are aiming for being fossil-free or completely green, whatever that means in the future. And that drives the demand on their suppliers, which in their turn, in this particular case, drives the demand on us. So.
Do you think that the demand, as you say, the customers of your customers, they're slightly different in terms of what they're looking for in Europe versus those in Asia?
In the long run, I don't believe they are. I mean, they are perhaps right now, but I don't believe. I mean, Harvey is present in many other countries, and I don't believe in the long run or in the short period maybe maybe, but I don't see that will be a difference in the long run.
We'll take a short break, but when we come back, we'll discuss more on Scania and the environmental process that they are involved in. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Market Talk. I am your host, Ibrahim Sani. Today we're looking at Scania, and joining me is the Managing Director of that company of Southeast Asia, Marie Schoden-Enstrom. Marie, the Scania group of companies, they are part of the Volkswagen truck and bus. Your company employs about 46,000 people. Yeah. Do you think that there is a synergy to find some similarities between the parent that you have, Volkswagen Truck and Bus, and with the R&D processes that Scania is currently developing? Do you think there is a synergy?
Well, we are looking for synergies, of course, in that collaboration, and there's a natural synergy in some aspects of research and development. So, of course, we are looking at that as well. What is really clear is that on a market like this, in the commercial environment, we are a brand, and we are a brand of ourselves, and we will, compete with anyone else in this environment.
Speaking about competing, two of your competitors have been on this show, MAN Trucks, and also Volvo Trucks. Yeah. On this show, we were asking them about their R&D process, and they argue that the ability for them to bring their R&D plants, bring their R&D process closer towards Asia, where the growth of the market is quite important. Scania's R&D is still located in Latin America and in Sweden. do you think that there is a need for you to bring your R&D process closer to where the growth of the market is?
Actually, the R&D is still based in Sweden and in 100% in there. And I'm not the one to actually tell you that, but as far as the discussions are, we are quite content with our R&D in the long run. We have our arms out. We know how to collaborate. We know how to work and to understand the markets out there. And the way that we operate is that the demand that I get from my customers, that demand is then, I'm letting my environment in Sweden to know how that is and what that is. So I think as it is right now, Scania has no intention of moving any R&D. But on the other hand, I'm not party to that information.
Let's take a look into the responsibilities that you have. Of course, managing Southeast Asia is a rather large portfolio.
Yes.
We are indeed the fastest growing population in terms of an economic bloc. And do you think that there is more that can be done with Scania other than trying to sell the trucks and services and, for that matter, buses? To take into example, Scania Netherlands, they have a collaboration with the local developers there, particularly Zwolle, in terms of building solar panels.
Yes, understood.
Huge, 8 football pitches worth of size. Do you think that something like that can be seen here in Southeast Asia?
Absolutely, I can foresee that for absolutely. I mean, the company itself, when we are talking about sustainability and we don't only talk about sustainable transport solutions, which is directed to our customers, but we also talk about our own sustainable journey as a company and what that means. One of the reasons that we are now building this solar panel or roof to heat. So of course we're looking at our own internal transport, our logistics. We're looking at how we can build efficiency in our production system. So yes, there's a lot that we can do, and that I have responsibility to make sure that this company here is also contributing to the environment, to Malaysia, to the environment that we are in. So yes, and when we are now, and I would say that we talk about sustainability. Sustainability is not only fuel efficiency, if you want, or CO2 emissions. It's about the creating efficiency for our customers to be more efficient, to help them in their operation, to make them profitable. By them being profitable, they can develop their environment as well and their business. And then you have effects on effects going forward. So when we look at it, we provide them with the right vehicles, whether it's bus or truck or an engine. We also make sure that the engine is fuel efficient for their operation, for their application. But then also we make sure that they can improve on their operation through our data that we connect with them. And so we help them, we help their drivers, and we help them drivers to develop, to not only drive safe, but to drive in a profitable, efficient way for the customer.
The nearest term, the nearest future that we need to look at is on the development of the One Belt, One Road initiative, or OBR. We could possibly see a highway connecting all the way from Singapore, cutting across into China straight away to the southern parts of China, in Guangzhou and other cities there. This would give rise to the need of a demand for trucks. Do you see this as an opportunity for further growth of Scania in this region?
Of course. I mean, it's quite an exciting project. That's an understatement. But of course, there's always going to be demand for transport through trucks or by people, because this is not only going to move goods, it's going to move people as well. So, and we can, we complement the rest of transport. So absolutely, there is going to be construction. So we can, use our applications in construction. There's going to be a need for public transport. There's going to be a long haulage transport, etc. So yes.
This week we saw the MRT being launched
Yes.
in Klang Valley, and this is of course another phase of a series of LRT launches that the government is trying to initiate. And you're right, we're transporting people a lot more efficiently nowadays. Does this give rise to a need for greater demand for buses, considering that people need to be feeded into these many
Yeah.
LRT stations?
I was very fortunate, so I was there for the launch on Monday, and it's a fantastic system that is being built here. And I also fortunate to take the train all the way home. Yes, I mean there is a complement. You will have trains, and we are looking for trains, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, for example. But people that are in this part of the world where urbanization is so important, people are wanting to get closer to their jobs, to their friends, and their social life, and train is never going to get them all the way. So there's going to be a complement needed for buses, absolutely.
We'll take a short break, Marie. When we come back, we'll take a look into driverless trucks and whether or not that could come as a reality. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Market Talk. I am your host, Ibrahim Sani. Joining me today is Marie Schouten-Enstrom, the Managing Director of Scania Southeast Asia. You cover a series of markets. What is the outlook for the Malaysian market?
I mean, Malaysia has a very strong growth. It's very resilient to what's happening in the environment. It's being driven a lot by the private consumption now, so it's a developing market. So, and we are in most of the applications on segments that you can imagine here, and from both truck and bus. I need to cover that. So, I mean, we look very positively on the future for this market, absolutely.
The subject that I want to focus on is, of course, driverless trucks.
Yes.
You've alluded to it earlier in the interview. Do you think that this is still a far-fetched future for us to see driverless trucks being rolled out for industrial purposes, for industrial use?
I don't believe it's far-fetched. I believe it is here now. We know that it's operating right now. We're operating, as I mentioned before, we're operating in mines. I've been on a driverless bus, although in a closed environment.
That's what I mean. Can we see it being applied where people are around?
It will be, absolutely. It needs to consider, and already now when it's being tested, or it has been tested in the environment, with the way that it's constructed. Yes, you can. It will be a bit more work to be done to make sure that you can take care of the environment you are in, and I mean, but of course we can. And I mean, the development that is happening now in the world is exponential, so it will be much faster.
What can we expect from Scania Southeast Asia in the next few months to come?
We are continuing to expand. We're continuing to look at investments in Malaysia. We're looking at expanding our service network. So we're looking at making sure that we are covering covering the country where our customers are. We are launching now very soon an expansion in Port Klang that we have done, and an upgrade of our service facility there. We have an exciting driver competition coming up, where drivers in Southeast Asia come and compete in driving efficiently, and we also have a top team final where our technicians get an opportunity to compete with their skills as well. So we are doing a lot of things. So it's a long list I can share with you, but we're developing the products together with the customers as well.
The thing that, we don't have much time left, but the thing that I want to focus on is the top team program, where you actually reward strong technicians or competent technicians to achieve greater levels of achievement. Do you think that there is a collaboration between vocational schools here with the transfer of technology and skills that these top technicians have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, like many others, we are in urgent need of skill and talent, and of course we work already today with IKBN, and with an apprentice scheme. we're putting in a lot of effort on training in both our technicians, but also our other staff, and we are quite a few here. So yes, absolutely. We need to continue. We need to move further on that collaboration with the local vocational schools.
Marie, sounds like a very interesting prospect you have for the rest of the year. Thank you for joining me today. I've been speaking to Marie Enstrom-Snowden, the Managing Director of Scania Southeast Asia. And that wraps up this edition of Market Talk. Send us all your feedback on all our social media platforms. Use @50Awani and follow us there. And also you can listen to this interview on your podcast. Simply search for Market Talk or Astro Awani there. I'm Ibrahim Sani. Thanks for watching and good night.